Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to the show Sisterly. My name is Maryam. This is the show where we talk about contemporary issues, modern issues, social issues, and issues that affect our deen. Please join us right after the break. Welcome back viewers to the show Sisterly. As I said before, my name is Maryam Lemu, and with me is my sister.
Assalamu alaikum, Bimpe Aliu.
And?
Assalamu alaikum viewers, Monsurat Vincent.
And? Oh,
Lateefah.
Lateefah is missing.
She actually says she's almost here,
So I'm not sure
I guess she will just have to meet us.
We just go ahead without her?
I should go ahead with the program.
So we need to come up with a topic for...
Ladies.
Ah, there you are.
Assalamu alaikum.
You are welcome. Please introduce yourself as usual to our viewers.
I'm Lateefah Adeyemi. Assalamu alaikum.
Fantastic. Good to have you. Where did you go?
I stopped by at my parents' house.
Oh, that's very nice of you.
Alhamdulillah.
Very nice and thoughtful.
Well, why don't we talk about parents? As parents get older, it becomes kind of a responsibility on us.
Yes, that's
Should
a
we
good
pick
one.
that as a
I think we
topic?
should.
think
It
so,
should.
yeah.
It's
Right?
something that's relevant to all of us,
Yes,
you know.
Yeah.
yes.
Dealing with aged parents,
Right.
the child-parent relationship.
Right.
So, viewers, that will be our topic for today. Obviously, in the Quran, there are so many verses that remind us of the importance of being kind to parents and so on. However, parents have a responsibility to raise their children well, and Allah will ask them about that when they meet Him. But we as children, once we grow up, we have a responsibility that we owe our parents as well. And again, that Allah will ask us about. But we do know that parents are the key to paradise. And there's a verse where it says paradise is under the mother's foot, right?
Right.
Now, this of the
It's a
prophets.
hadith, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. Paradise is under the mother's foot. And in the Quran, it also says that as parents age, they start to go back to being like children.
Yes.
Yes, and I don't know, how old are your parents? What age group age are they?
70, 80. My
70,
mom,
80.
70. My dad, around 80.
Okay, and how about you?
My mom, and they are both under 70.
Under
They're still
70.
below 70.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. And you?
My dad is 72, while my mom is 71.
Alhamdulillah.
My mom is 76 and my dad is 90. Yes. So why don't we talk about how we relate with our parents? Obviously, they nurtured us, they raised us to the best of their ability and imparted a lot of invaluable gifts to us, which is what we are using today to make a name for ourselves. How do you relate with your parents now that they are aged?
Right. You know, the way we used to relate with them when we were teenagers, before we got married, even when we got married initially, is actually different from the way I relate with them now.
Yeah.
Now I have to be more patient. I have to make sure I listen to my mom. Listen as in listen. I know when she needs me.
Yeah.
And I know when my dad needs me. Because they are both, of course, they want the best for us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So they won't actually call you to say they need something.
Yeah.
Or we have to, at this point in time,
Be there for them.
be there for them. So we have
Exactly.
to actually know that without them asking,
Yeah.
there are certain things that we need to do.
Exactly.
Just to make them comfortable and happy.
Absolutely. Monsurat, how do
Yes.
you relate with your parents?
You know, the issue of parents and child is an interesting one.
Yes.
While growing up, our parents are there for us. They do everything to make us
Exactly.
happy. I mean, we wouldn't be here today if not for the grace of our parents.
Absolutely.
And Almighty Allah in the Holy Quran also mentioned our duties to our parents. You know?
Yes,
It's very
exactly.
explicit that it's a decree that you worship only Allah. And then after that, you do good to your parents.
Yes.
You don't shout at them. You respect them because, like you rightly said, as they age, and like Almighty Allah said, as they age, they become children. So those active parents, which we are now, it
Exactly.
will get to a stage you can't shout on your kids again.
Absolutely.
You can't give the others again.
Exactly.
They don't call the shots now.
Yeah.
We call the shots now. And so those verses help us to be good Muslims, that we need to be gentle with them,
Yes.
patient with them.
We can't even raise our voices.
We can't, we're not even
Absolutely.
allowed to, because, like you said, my parents are not too old. They're still active, you know,
Yeah.
72, 71. But, you know, because I know all they've done for me, and luckily, you know, as you grow older, you tend to appreciate your parents more. Like Bimpe rightly said, growing up, you probably think, oh, they're too hard on me, and what have you. But now that you're a parent yourself,
You
know,
appreciate it.
everything they did was actually a sacrifice.
Exactly.
It was actually in your own interest.
Yeah.
And what more can you give somebody who is aged? They don't ask for too much, like Bimpe said.
Yes.
They don't eat that much again. They don't wear that much again. It's just a basic thing. And what they want is your comforts.
Right.
What they want is you just being around them and then give them a call. Don't abandon them, you know. Just for us to show that we appreciate them and we'll always be there for them.
Exactly. Lateefah, you just came back from visiting your parents. How do you express, you know, this love, this compassion? How do you show your parents that? What do you do?
First, I try to listen to them.
Yes.
Because, you know, from time to time, they want to talk to you. It's not that they want to, even if they don't really need to see you, they want to talk to you, they want to know what is going on. I have a duty of reciprocating that.
Yes.
Yes. So I try to speak with them once in a while. And now that it was necessary to visit, I visited.
Yeah.
And, you know, I take things to them. I spend time with them, quality time. And
absolutely, that's fantastic.
Quality time, like she rightly mentioned,
it's
you know, the underlying thing is doing good to them.
Yes.
Now, what is good is a general term. We all know what is good, we all know what is bad. But in some instances, we should be able to relate with our parents. I might not be opportune to relate with mine.
Exactly.
It's obvious our parents stay close by. That's why she's able to just drop by and say hello to them. For some people, their parents stay quite far. Maybe they have to travel out of the state in which they stay. I'm so lucky too. My parents don't stay too far. They stay not too close, but still within the same state. But the issue is the challenges of work would not allow me to just pass by and then drop by at any point in time. But then I still plan my schedule to make sure that they get to see me. You know, the good thing about the family in which we've grown, there is always a social event that brings us together in my case. So even if I'm not able to go to the house and say hello to them, the following weekend or 2 weekends after that, there's either a nikah, you know, there's either a naming ceremony, and then I take the pains to go, not just because of the celebrant, but because I'll see my parents, and then I'll see their well-being, because all they want to do is see me, and I want to see them, and they want to be sure that all is fine. So we need in our individual ways to still keep in touch with them and make them happy.
And I think
I try to do that.
Yeah,
I'm sure we all try to do that.
Yes, and as it says about them going back to the state of being like children, just like children that are dependent, that need your love, that need your affection, and so on. For me, I'm dealing with two quite very well-aged parents, with my dad being 90. Obviously, he's quite mature.
I'll say it again.
Yes, he's quite mature. And then my mom as well. And unfortunately for me, I'm going through more difficulty because my mom has really become very dependent on me. We are just two, my brother and myself. So the responsibility we share of taking care of her, because she's actually dealing with dementia right now. And it was just something, but I'll talk about that later. With what you mentioned about our hectic lives, modern day society, the demands on us, whether it's our career, the demands from our children, and the demands from our parents. How do we find a way to balance and harmonize this so that everybody feels they got the fair attention? If you have children, you feel you owe them that same quality time, that love, and so on. Then when you have a spouse, obviously your spouse also needs your love, attention, and then your job needs your attention, or else, and then you've got your parents as well. How does one create this synergy without one feeling deprived or you know, denied something like that? What would you suggest? What do you think?
I'm actually a bit guilty of that. Because my mom calls me all the time, my dad calls. They initiate the call.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, mommy. And they say, no problem. You know, they make excuses
because you're
for
busy.
Us. You're busy, no problem. I just want to be sure you're okay. The children are fine. Everything is fine. Work is good. You're okay. And I say, mommy, I'm okay. I'm really sorry. Then I'm like, did you see my WhatsApp message that I sent to you? My mom, on WhatsApp, the first thing I see is a picture of good morning.
Oh, my God.
And when you want to sleep again, good night.
Mothers are
forever. Out to this, and I'm like, mommy, I saw you. But you didn't respond. I'm so sorry, mommy. I will respond. So what I now make sure I make a conscious effort.
It's a conscious one.
Conscious effort to, even if I don't initiate the call, maybe the following week I try to call. Then if I now see that it's becoming more of them calling me, and I just plan a trip. Because my parents stay in Ibadan, out of state. So I have to at least travel. So I still plan. And I say, mommy, are you going to any party this week? Because my mom too likes to go to all these events to make themselves happy. They're not going. They're coming.
Like you rightly said, it's a conscious effort. Right?
You have to deliberately plan.
Exactly, because more often than not, the parents take the backstage at this stage, at this point in time. You got your immediate family, you have to go to work, you have to attend to your husband, you have the kids. We find ourselves very guilty of leaving our parents behind.
Yeah.
And these are people, just like we are there for our kids now. We know we can't do anything. I mean, if you're coming for this show, you'll have planned that the kids are very well taken care of at home.
Exactly.
This was what they did for us.
Yes.
But now that we are independent, a lot of us just seem to keep them in the background.
Yeah.
Like Bimpe, I also try to call because I know I can't visit as often as I love to. But the technology has made it a bit easy. So you can always constantly check on them.
Yeah.
And then when you see that they make the calls on their own first, you try and make sure that you cover up and then call them first. You know?
I know when I travel, I always do Skype with my mom or, you know, and so on. She doesn't know how to operate it anymore. However, there's someone there who will be able to help and assist in that. For me, as I'm dealing with this, and I mentioned all these things that one has to balance, obviously, it really can be very stressful on us. We're torn between who to give enough love to and make sure nobody feels deprived and not to make anyone upset. You don't want your spouse to be upset that you're taking so much care of your parents and you neglect him. So for me, what I try to do is make sure there is a healthy balance. I give my children from this time to this time. And on many occasions, I actually go with them when I go to visit my mom so that they're still with me. I can still chat and interact with them. And the group, obviously for our parents, more than anything, what they love is that social setting, being
especially
able to
with their
interact
grandchildren.
with you and your grandchildren. The fact that Bimpe mentioned that it's her mom calling, it means she really, really wants to connect and be in touch and is the one reaching out. So there is a craving there and such a strong need. Another thing I do is I take things that will keep, inshallah, it as a source of reward for me. I make certain things that I know they love. My dad loves cookies. So I bake cookies and I take it to him and the dua he makes is so beautiful, you know, or a particular dish that he likes. So these are all little things that one does that makes the parents appreciate.
This. They really go out of their way.
Exactly.
Thank you. As if it's
Yes.
a big deal.
The cooking thing made me remember, because I know that my dad loves, it's a Nigerian singer, it's actually late now, Sikiru Ayinde Barrister. So we used to listen to it, the late musician. So we used to listen to his music growing up.
Yeah.
So recently I just went to a music store and I said, get me all the old tapes of Sikiru Ayinde Barrister. So I compiled everything and I gave it to my dad. And I said, just be playing it on your CD player and
wake up in the
dancing
morning.
Exactly.
No, like she said, it's making conscious effort. I'm guilty of my mom calling all the time as well. She initiates the call all the time.
Yeah.
And it's until when she calls that, I now remember that,
I haven't.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think for viewers,
like, I hope you are good. I'm just checking on you.
Yeah.
You know, I speak with my dad more.
Yeah. And this is a reality, and I would share this with our viewers, that it's so common sometimes that we get so carried away with our lives and the busy things that are on our plate that we don't remember how such little acts can be so significant to our parents. Now, here in Africa, we have been blessed that there is a huge extended family system. However, we've been blessed because we actually look forward to taking care of our parents as they age. Yes. Sometimes there's even competition who takes, you know, who will be in charge of taking care of the parents. Unlike in the West, where you will often hear they take them to a home and so on. For us here, we are fortunate enough that there is an extended family. There is a support system that can help you through this journey, which is a difficult journey. So sometimes you may be able to get someone to assist. However, whose responsibility is it to take care of parents?
As Muslim, it's that of the male, you know. As children, you're supposed to take care of your parents.
Of course.
But the responsibility is more on the male.
Okay, and what if you don't have a male?
Of course, the female.
Then it's your responsibility.
The female.
What if the male does not have the capacity? And it's the female in the family that has the capacity to take care of the family.
To handle it. You know, that is why these kids, I mean, we know as kids, to a large extent nowadays, parents give their children equal opportunities. So they're taking care of you. Even though you are a female and your brother, or you don't have a brother, or you don't have a male in the family, or you probably have a brother, but you have better means, you take up that responsibility with joy, with happiness.
But I think the question she raised is a good one. What if you really aren't able to personally do it? Is there any harm in taking your parents to a home? In as much as I really am not for it, but there are times where the most important thing, it's like children. You can't just have a child and then leave them with a nanny and don't be involved in raising them. However, if you know you can get someone very responsible to join you, because it is very difficult sometimes being able to balance all this. Your parent needs attention. You can't give them the 110% attention they need, but you can give them a very comfortable, very loving, very nurturing environment that they will still be comfortable in. Is that acceptable? Is that okay? Is it okay to take them, though, to an elder's home if you know that environment is going to be nurturing and you're not going to be able to give them the real attention they need? Maybe your schedule is so busy, your job. Are you going to quit your job simply because...
No, you're not going to quit your job.
Aha.
You can get someone to take care of them in their own home.
Okay.
Because that's the environment they're used to. And they have so many things going on for them there.
Yeah.
Instead of taking them out to
somewhere else.
Somewhere else to some
So you are absolutely against it.
I'm absolutely.
What about you?
The truth about it is what the Quran has emphasized is doing good to our parents, taking care of our parents.
Yeah.
And the instances which you've cited, you actually want to be fair, kind, and nice to your parents. But you know you can't do it alone. I mean, an instance in which your parents stay very far from you, you get a nanny to take care of them, but the nanny is probably maltreating them.
Exactly.
She's not giving them the best.
And you don't have CCTV or every opportunity.
I know of someone whose parents stay in Ibadan.
Yeah.
He stays in Lagos.
Yeah.
He actually brought his mom down to Lagos. But he says, I know what? I know my mom. She's a very comfortable woman. I know I'm comfortable, but she won't come to my house.
Yeah.
She has a cook. She has the driver. You know, she's all this woman that loves to do things themselves. She won't stay in my house, and then my wife will determine I'm many for her. Do you know what? He got a duplex and paid millions for her.
Wow.
So that she can be in Lagos. And then he's able to stop by in the morning and then stop by in the evening.
Yeah.
He had to make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Even though he stayed very close by, but he still didn't put the money in the house. And the mother loved it that way. So sometimes it depends on situation.
Scenarios
it depends on situation.
It's subjective.
I was going to say that, you know, the old people's home idea, it's actually, I think it depends on the idea behind, of the intention
behind
the child has before
taking them to that place. Yes.
If you had the intention of dumping them there for the government to take care of
that's
them.
it. Exactly. I think that's the key word.
It's between you and Allah.
Yes.
But if you have the intention that maybe the last help you got was maltreating your parents, and you know that the institution they have rules, they have experts that can take care.
And for whatever reason, you couldn't put them in your own house for reasons beyond your control.
Exactly.
Then I don't think there's anything.
Yeah, for me, my parents, you know, my dad is there, my mom is there. However, my mother is very dependent on others to help her, and what we did is similar to what Lateefah was saying, which is to get somebody who will live in the house with her. She's a degree holder. She has her daughter also living there. Her daughter goes to school right next door, literally. So, but she's been, alhamdulillah, it's been a blessing because she's become part of our family. And so it has lightened the load because we have busy schedules. In as much as when I'm around and my brother is around, we're in town, we see my mom no less than maybe twice a day, minimum, that we make sure we interact with her. We go, we visit her, and she sometimes comes out and visits us as well, which is really great. But at least it reduces the guilt. That is, I think, the biggest thing, that you do end up feeling guilty. You feel heavy that, are you really fulfilling your obligations?
Exactly.
But if you can do something, you know, because your hands are tied, it's better to give them a good option than one that is really going to be uncomfortable or one that tears you apart because you're stretching yourself so thin and you're making huge sacrifices that could cost you several things, like quitting your job because, you know, you need to stop. And
I mean, the instances you cited in which you visit your parents twice a day, it shows how close you live to them.
Exactly.
I mean, in an average city like Lagos, in a city like Lagos, where you are
big.
You won't try it. You love to see them often, but you can't afford to do it. Because even commuting from your own house to the office takes like 2-3 hours in some instances, so it's not possible. And then you leave them with someone who is not giving them that love and care. Ideally, it would be nice to have them with you. But if for reasons beyond your control, I think what matters is being good and kind to them.
Yes, it's your intention.
If I can quickly add to that, I recall when I was doing my NYC service, my grandmother, she's late now. May Allah bless her soul, inshallah. May Allah have mercy on her. She developed stroke, and because we're a close-knit family, we try to make sure everybody's involved. And my mom says, you're earning youth corporate salary. So this is the bill. Everybody's going to chip in because the kind of care we needed to give to her then was very expensive.
Yeah.
So I remember that every month I was also contributing towards that. So it's at the back. The maid. I mean, that conscious effort stays with me.
Yeah.
And I know that I have to take care of the elderly.
You know
when it's my turn.
Yes. It may not be our 100% responsibility, but it's an obligation.
It is
we
an
feel,
obligation.
and there's so much reward. One of the biggest sources of reward or barakah is when your parents pray for you or are happy with you. And the reward is instantly accepted by Allah, and you start to reap the benefits on this earth. And I think that's something that if we all selfishly keep that in mind, we do everything in our power to please our parents. Inshallah, viewers, when we come back, we shall be going more in depth into this area to do with the relationship between our children and us, because obviously what goes around comes around. So please join us after the break. Assalamu alaikum, viewers. Welcome back to the show Sisterly. My name is Maryam Lemu. We've been talking about child-parent relationship, how to deal with elderly parents when the responsibility falls on your shoulders. What do you do? How do you balance it with your family, with your career, and with other social responsibilities that you have? And being a parent, how do you raise your children and also make sure your parents also get the attention they deserve? So that's what we've been talking about today. Sometimes, obviously, when parents reach a certain age, there is a high risk that something could suddenly go wrong, certain things that you really didn't expect. For me, I never saw it coming. We never saw this coming, but my mom was suddenly struck with dementia. And, you know, in just no time, she couldn't remember so many things. And it came with a bout of depression that was really nasty, which is another monster in itself. However, for her to completely forget things she had done, my mom is somebody who is so strong, full of life, traveled around the world, written so many books. And it reached a stage where she couldn't even remember she wrote a single book. As it was progressing to Alzheimer's, we were concerned, based on what doctors were telling us, that she might not even recognize us. Obviously, you're never really prepared for this. However, it's a reality. And I think for those whose parents are not yet of the normal age, there needs to be some mental preparation, because for me, that's the advice I give so many people today. Try and prepare. Strokes could come up with no notice. And it's happened to some who aren't even up to 70. But how do we really prepare for this very sensitive and difficult time and trial from Allah? Do you have any ideas?
Miriam, indeed, it's a trial from Almighty Allah, and may Allah continue to have mercy on us.
Amen.
I remember when my mom was 69, she suddenly had stroke. I mean, this was a woman who had just, my father is so, you know, he doesn't joke with his health, you know, so they had just gone for a comprehensive medical checkup. The two of them were certified okay, and then a month or two later, my mom came down with stroke. We're just lucky that we got immediate medical attention. And then, alhamdulillah, she's fine and back on her feet now. But, you know, like you said, how do you prepare for it?
How do you prepare?
I mean, luckily, in my own case, my parents are financially independent. So we hardly even have to bother about the financial aspects. But at that point in time when they happened, we only had to move in closer, be there for them. You know, we had to, I mean, she was hospitalized for like not too long. Funny enough, Allah was just very merciful. She didn't stay too long in the hospital. But while she was there, we went it to a point of duty. Despite our tight schedule, we're always there every day. You know, we take turns in visiting her. Because even if, as somebody's footing the bill, my father was just paying for everything. The least we could do was to be there for her. You know, pray with her. You know, we got our imams to be there for her. We said our prayers with her. You know, she knew she had our support all the way. And we told her, no matter what happens, we'll be there for you. But alhamdulillah, she was able to get better.
Well, Lateefah, I agree with her. It's being there for them, supporting them, knowing that they have your shoulder to lean on. Yes. What we do for our parents
to prepare.
Yes, is we ensure that they go for regularly for their medical checkup.
That's part of
That's very good.
Yes, we do that. And alhamdulillah, they are financially
independent enough that they can do that.
So they could do that once.
Exactly. Well, there is this scenario that comes up, and I've heard some people talk about that, where obviously you as a child feel you need to give your parents that attention. However, you have a spouse that doesn't support it and is not encouraging. Maybe the relationship between him and the in-laws was not a good one. That could be one factor. It could be several things. How do you handle that, where you have a spouse who actually hasn't got your back in this very difficult time where your parents need their attention, your spouse has a right over you. He can demand that you do not leave the house, you do not do certain things, and you disobey, and obviously there are some consequences to that. How do you think is the best way to handle a challenging situation like that?
You know, Islam is a beautiful religion. And it's difficult.
Yes,
of
course. I'd hate to be in that situation.
It's a very difficult one. We don't pray for that.
Yes.
Paradise lies at your mother's feet.
Yes.
And you also have a duty to your husband.
To your husband.
So, you know, to be able to balance it out without committing a sin, by being, you know, by disobeying your husband, you have to. It's a dilemma.
It's a tough one.
I think you may need to appeal to your husband's moral situation.
Exactly.
If his parents are alive, you can go to your spouse's parents
and
yourself.
That's brilliant.
How would you feel?
Or even show love to them.
That he abandons you.
Exactly. Or even show love to them.
Please
so
beg,
that he knows.
him.
Yeah.
So he allows me to see my parents.
Honestly, Maryam, it's a difficult situation. It's a very difficult one. But I think one of the things we should do for ourselves as a Muslim is we should try and marry the right spouse.
Absolutely.
Even though sometimes these decisions are beyond us. It's not as if those who have I don't know if that's anything like a perfect marriage, but it's not as if we knew it would turn out this way.
Yes.
But the truth is that you do yourself a whole lot of good.
Yeah.
Like the Quran says, the pious man for the pious woman. The corrupt man for the corrupt woman.
Yes.
If you have a Muslim as a husband, somebody who is aware
and
that
God-fearing
lies as a face of it. I mean, in my own case, my mom-in-law was in my house from the day I had my first baby till the day I had my last baby.
Wow.
And that's like an interval of like 4 years, you know, and each time anybody comes with me, she sings my praises. That's because I'm aware that she has a son. Yeah. This is her son's house. I mean, if she did not labor to train my husband and make him who he is, I would not have found a man that is making me happy today. I'm very conscious of that. And if she does anything I don't like, I just tell myself, maybe what if she was my mother? What would I have done?
You know, but though you actually have me ask another question is, what if you're the one whom she doesn't get along with and she's not treating you well and she's moved in with you?
Exactly. You see,
how is that?
That's why I say, may Allah have mercy, it's a function of the husband.
To take care of the parent.
A lot has to do with the husband. You see, when your husband can call the shots, he will draw a line between the rights of his mother and that of the wife.
Excellent.
You know, Islamically, the house belongs to the woman.
Exactly.
It is my house. I'm a Muslim woman. The house belongs to me.
Yeah.
It's my right to say, I want her in or not. But because I am a Muslim woman, I know I have to submit to Almighty Allah. I know I have to have the fear of Allah. And so I allow her in. And then if she's giving me the headache, my husband would see. You know, but if you don't have a man who knows the difference,
relationship,
he might not be able to draw the line. My husband should be able to draw the line. Mommy, you're overstepping your boundary. Right. You know, because I would love to report him.
A mother to a son.
You don't want to create your baby.
But you know, if he sees it, he should be able to draw the line.
Yes. In addition to that, while the husband is able to draw the line, the wife too should try to treat the mother as her own mother.
Exactly.
That way there will be peaceful coexistence.
Even if she treats you badly, infability here, Sanu.
The point Lateefah mentioned is very important though. I mean, while growing up, I've heard of people who say, especially from the side I come from, the southwest, you know, where they see mother-in-laws as their rival from day one. I've heard of people who will say, I don't wish to have a mother-in-law. I mean, I pray by the time I get married, she'll be dead. And I'm like,
oh my God.
What did you say? I mean, take myself as an instance. I've got 3 boys. I can't imagine somebody praying that I will not be there to relax and enjoy the fruit of my labor.
Yes,
do you understand? So
course.
it's not a prayer I wish for. And so I would not wish my mother-in-law the same thing.
No.
I know she's old. I have a very good mother-in-law. I must confess and I'm grateful. But I know sometimes they could be difficult. But at the same time, the fear of God in you should help you to manage some things.
And that's my next question. When you have very difficult parents, very demanding parents that are old, and it's your responsibility to take care of them, how do you manage and cope with that, where they are so stubborn, they won't take their drugs, you know, they will be saying all sorts of things that you, obviously, it's a test. What do you suggest would be a good way to handle?
That relates to me clearly well.
Yes.
My dearest Mr. Wadoing again. He recently developed this cough, and he used to be a construction worker.
Yeah.
And he went to a hospital in Ibadan. Then we said, let's get a second opinion. We're trying to process your visa, but meanwhile, let's come to Lagos, let's. So I said, Daddy, get your driver to please bring you to Lagos. I booked an appointment in a good hospital. We got there and they took everything. Daddy said, so they're collecting all this money from you. And they're just asking me to do this, do that. I said, Daddy, be patient now. I know you like that hospital in Ibadan. Yes. Because the doctor is your friend. But he's been treating you for the same thing. I mean, better. For him to come to Lagos, we begged him for almost a month. Then he came to Lagos, he says, the doctor is not good. The doctor is this. They are just, I said, Daddy, Shebi is my money. The hospital is too expensive. I want you to be fine. Then he says, Daddy, if you don't do this, if you don't do that. Then, you know, after a while, they treated him. And he says, then he came back again to tell the doctor that I'm not coming back again. The doctor gave me, it's not working, it's the Ibadan. I said, okay, if it's Ibadan, we will stay with Ibadan.
When parents age, I've mentioned my own challenge of, you know, Alzheimer's and so on. And there are many other, you mentioned stroke, challenges, serious health issues that come up. But you want to make sure you're hands-on involved. What do you suggest when it comes to the fact that they are almost totally dependent on you to take care of them? It's, you know, you don't have, they can't do things on their own. Any suggestions or any ideas on what to do when you know an illness has come? Obviously, an illness is another trial from God. But how do you handle that?
From your own experience, and if you want to assume extreme cases, which do happen once in a while, you know, you need a third party to come in and help out.
Exactly. Because
here you are staying in one part of the city. Yeah. Your parents, you're lucky even if they're in the same city with you. Yes. More than that, they're probably outside where you stay. Yeah. You need to get someone to be there
to assist. So that
the medical personnel, more often than when they get to that particular, you can actually monitor them professionally and give them the best. You know, that's the little you can do for all they've done for you.
So like a nurse or somebody that comes and checks and helps.
They stay in nurse if you can afford one. If you can't, a nurse that checks on them regularly.
Exactly. What goes around comes around.
It does.
How do we try and prepare our children to take care of us? Anybody, any ideas?
The best way to teach your kids is by example, as far as I'm concerned. Presently, my mother-in-law is in my house, on holiday in my house. Yes, even though she doesn't speak English, and my kids are struggling to speak my native dialect, I'm ashamed of that, you know. But the way they relate with her, they'll probably just start speaking Yoruba once she's around, trying to attend to her needs. Because they know if I am in the house and she calls me, I won't allow her to call me twice. I'm there to attend to her. Because of the way they see me relate with her, they do the same thing. Same thing with my parents, you know, if I have to go, I hardly see them that much. But if I have to go and see them as often as I can, I take my kids along. And my kids will tell you, oh, mommy doesn't joke with her parents. In fact, they keep telling me, mommy, you like your parents so much. Because for all they've done for you, I don't even know what stacks. Can we ever compensate parents? It's not possible.
No.
You know, but I remember the last time my mom had a 70th birthday. And then a year later, she wasn't having a big party. So I was like, what do I do? And I got a frame, a picture frame, you know, of myself and my mom only, you know, at the function. And my kids were like, Mommy, this frame for yourself and Mom, where is my, I mean, each of them was asking me, where is my own frame with you? I was there. And, you know, so I felt guilty, but I don't worry. No, I don't want a family picture. I want myself. And those are the little things you could do for them.
They see the love.
They don't need much.
I remember when my mom had a slight accident in the bathroom. She's always trying to put her feet over the sink to do ablution. I said, Mommy, you're no longer young. And she said, but I do it at your place and I don't fall. Then she had an accident in Ibadan. So she had to they had to put a cast on her arm. So she sent me the picture. And she said she's fine, and that's why she sent me the picture. I said, what? Then my children saw me open the picture. So like, what happened to Grandma? Oh, we have to go and see her. Did you like Grandma? So we said, Mommy, we are coming. And then we all went to say, we were like, Grandma, can you lift your hand? Can you do this? And I'm like, those boys that are giving me grief. And they're so, you know, emotional and taking care of their grandma. They were very worried when they saw, you know, the cast on her. But
Miriam, we can't forget the issue of prayer in all this that we are saying.
Absolutely.
Honestly, we don't finish our salat any day without saying a dua for the parents.
Honestly,
my kids you can't finish your prayer without praying for your grandparents. You know? So naturally, when they're done with their grandparents, they just come to me and pray for their parents. They just need to see us do these things.
And make sure they know the du'as. And make sure they know the du'as. Because inshallah, they will be our sadaqatun jariyah if we are fortunate and we raise them properly. What advice would you give because of how difficult it is raising, nurturing or caring for the elderly and all the things they do that can be so frustrating. And you find yourself with that responsibility. Some may call it a burden, but it is on your shoulders to take care of your aged parents. How do you handle not flipping, not getting rough? Because it's like you're taking the drug and they spit it out. They do things that, if it's like your child that does it, you'd swat them one. I know, how do you handle that so you don't feel the pressure and the guilt? Yes. Because that's another thing. For instance, for me, when I travel to give some of my talks or lectures, I always feel bad that I've left my mom because I know how much she wants me there every day. And sometimes you actually feel maybe you've put your career on hold because it's their turn. They put their career on hold. For me, my mom did so much when she was raising me and sacrificing so much that I feel indebted to her. And yet at this stage, I'm at, I believe, the prime of my life where I can do the most, but I end up feeling guilty. The other thing is the frustration. You're dealing with a difficult parent and those emotions. It's an emotional roller coaster. How do we handle and overcome that? Lateefah, any suggestions?
First is prayer.
Of course.
Then patience.
Yes.
In dealing with them, in relating with them, because in the first place, it's not their wish to be in such.
They didn't wish to be like that.
They didn't wish to be like that.
And they are conscious.
And they're conscious.
They are conscious that they are.
Yes.
They
putting a burden on you.
Yes, that's it. You know that.
Be patient, with them.
Yeah.
And in case whereby they don't want to take their medication, you can let them see the reason why they need to take the medication.
It depends on the disease, though. Like my mom with dementia, each day she forgets. I mean, few hours she's forgot. You remind and it goes.
So
you just have to.
Miriam, honestly,
it's not easy.
It's actually a challenging period for anyone that has aged parents. But like Lateefah rightly said, it's actually patience. And may Allah give us the grace to go through it when it happens to us. We all pray to age gracefully. We do not wish to be a burden on our kids. May Almighty Allah not make our parents a burden upon us. I remember when my mom had the stroke, the only thing she kept saying was, Ya Allah, I don't want to be a burden on my kids. Because that was just 2-3 days into the sickness.
Wow.
She was already thinking of what it would be to be dependent on us throughout her life. But Allah was very merciful. But if that was the case with any other person, in case the person continues to be a liability, you just have to, or a dependent, not a liability, you pay for Allah's grace. Because it is very challenging. I have friends who are going through it and it's not funny. Coping with other stress in your life and then having that support. They're your parents.
Exactly.
If you don't do that for them, who else would you do it for?
When they did it for you. You are a product of their sacrifices. They would do the same thing for you
several, I mean, they have done the same thing for you.
Think of when you were sick.
Exactly.
Just a fever. And
when they were able, when they were strong, they were all there for you.
For me, that's actually one of the things that I always do is remember, what did my parents do for me?
I remember that all the time.
Exactly.
My father, I remember there was a time I had Whitlow. My father had, he took me to the hospital. He held my hand, as they were cutting it.
Almost feeling the pain for you.
Every time my father and my mom.
It's a coping mechanism for you
for
to constantly remind yourself, what did they do? And go back to your childhood. I can't ever forget the games my mother played with us, the places she took us to, the things she taught us, crafts, and then personal development skills, human development skills, helping us learn the EQ, the emotional part of how we relate with human beings and so on. And my dad as well, I think of the du'as he gave, the prayers, being conscious of Allah. And that helps me say, keep on going. Don't get tired. It's hard to say don't feel guilty. It's an emotion. And sometimes you can't control that feeling. It's hard to say don't be frustrated because it's an emotion as well. And it will come up because situations are so fluid with aged parents. However, what is important is, like you said, be patient, pray, be prayerful. And inshallah, Allah will make it easy for us. Our viewers at home, please join us right after the break. Assalamu alaikum, viewers at home. Welcome back to the show, Sisterly. Today we're talking about dealing with aged parents and how your relationship is with them, things you need to know, things you need to do to prepare. Sometimes you're not expecting this, it just happens, and the responsibility is on your shoulders. You may sometimes go through an emotional roller coaster of guilt. You may also be feeling sad, obviously, as you see them deteriorating right before your eyes. And this is so difficult. And then you see them turning back to a child, like it says in the Quran, that they will. And that is where we are talking about. That is what we're talking about, that you now have to care for them the way they cared for you.
Yes.
What can you share as a few last words or stories to do with how to make sure we do not forget about the responsibilities we have and what we can do to part with them in a way that we live with, as the Prophet says, minimum regrets. The worst is when they are gone, you think back and say, why didn't I
do this?
Why didn't I? So you have minimum regrets. Do you have any ideas or stories?
Yes, I do. A few years ago, I had an accident. It was actually almost fatal.
Wow.
I was in the hospital for 4 months. And I recall that I had the accident in Lagos. Then I wasn't married, many years ago. So my dad and my mom came to Lagos. They had to, of course, take me back to Ibadan in an ambulance. And my dad wept all the way. And in Yoruba, he was saying, we are using an ambulance that they used to carry dead people to carry my daughter.
Oh my God.
He wept.
That was how bad he felt.
Yes, yes.
Then, fast forwarding back to now, then my dad and I, we went on a trip, I think a few years ago, maybe 2-3 years. We went to Seattle. And on the flight, my dad my dad is very agile. Right there on the plane, he was, you know, when you want to walk on the aisle and you're hitting this person and hitting, I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Daddy, be patient. Daddy said, why did he put his foot on the aisle? If I see anybody's foot there, I must.
Oh my goodness.
I apologized all the way to the person. Says, my dad, please, I'm sorry, please. His eyesight, I had to lie. Please, his eyesight is a bit faulty. Of course, if you heard it well, he said, Iranian, I can see very well.
Why did you place your feet there?
Yes.
So if I have to make a conscious effort,
yes.
I think that's the word, to remember everything they did for me. My mom and
all
my
the
dad.
sacrifices.
That is so key.
To be able to be patient with them right now.
Yes.
Because if I don't do that,
You probably flare
Oh yeah.
and react to
Right.
that.
Yes.
But you know what the
Exactly.
Quran says? As you age, you do not shout on them.
No.
You should not.
Show them
You
full
should try
respect.
not to.
It could
Exactly.
be frustrating.
Right.
It could be challenging.
Right.
It could, but then you don't have a choice.
Yes.
Right.
I know you hear
they were
stories
extremely
from...
protective when you were younger. They did
Exactly.
everything to make you who you had to be.
So you have to
So
do
that
the
should
same.
I remember
You know?
that all the time.
Right.
My mom, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah for both of them, because they made me the woman that I am today. Alhamdulillah for my mom. She made me, you know, accept Islam the way it should be. She brought us up, you know, as pure,
Proper
Muslims.
Alhamdulillah.
She ensured that we had, you know, we have Arabic teachers from time to time. And the very first time I had the opportunity of going to the Kaaba, it was my mom that took me.
Wow.
Before she took me, she went with my dad. So, you know, they have both been there in different capacities. So each time my mom, you know, like gets on my nerves, I just remind myself that, be careful. This woman, she loves you. And, you know, no matter how, you know, you ignore her and all that, she will keep calling and she will keep praying.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I'll be like, wow, she has a good heart.
Yes.
You know, and my dad,
In
too,
spite
is
of all that they're
caring,
facing now.
you know.
Yeah.
So when I remember all those,
Yeah.
you know, I know
It
that
keeps you
it
focused.
keeps me focused.
I know another thing that happens is sometimes they tell the same story over and over and over again. And you've heard the story, but I advise one thing, because honestly, I do it. Pretend as if you're just hearing that story for the first time. Viewers at home, have the facial expression as if you're just hearing like the wow. But do not complete the story for them, in as much as sometimes it's a long story. I know my dad always tells us the story of how he met our mom. And we, of course, cheeky monkeys, sometimes we look at each other and we signal. We've heard it. We can tell the story verbatim. Yes, like we were there.
Yes.
However, you don't know how much it means to them, because they have a glimpse of the past that is fading away.
And they need to hold on to it.
Yes.
really relate.
And they want to also keep handing over, sharing their stories, so that you can also continue and something to cherish. And so don't ever show that you're frustrated or you don't like what you're hearing. Act like you're hearing it for the first time. Alhamdulillah. I think more than anything, we need to remember what everybody has shared, which is kindness. Be kind. from the bottom of your heart. Be ready to make some sacrifices. Remember what they did for you. And be patient, like you said. It is going to be very difficult. It's going to be a trial, but we have to be patient. And more than anything, we shouldn't forget that what goes around comes around, that our children are watching us. They're watching how we relate with our parents, and someday the wheels will turn, and we're going to be the one looking for love, looking for attention, looking for companionship. You want your kids to be longing to be in your company in as much as you're no longer good company. So you do your best for as long as you can, with every power in your bones, not to feel guilty, make some sacrifices, but please don't forget, Allah will ask you how you took care of your parents. So may Allah make it easy for all of us. May Allah forgive us for all we have done that may be wrong when it comes to our relationship with our parents. And may Allah reward them also for all the seeds they've planted in us that have germinated to make us who we are today. Jazakumullahu khairan, my sisters, for sharing stories about our parents. I have goosebumps thinking about it. So thank you so much. I'm really touched. Thank you, audience. Please join us next time. Assalamu alaikum from me, audience. It was so nice having you join us today. And from me, it's yours,
Sisterly.